Welcome to the Rise Up For You podcast, where thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and executives from around the world share their practical tips, strategies, and stories to help you unleash your potential and achieve your goals. Your journey of growth to become your best starts now.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rise Up For You podcast. This is your host, Natalina Nasruddin. I am so excited to be back here with you with another amazing guest, actually coming all the way from Germany today. Please help me welcome Adriana Richter. She is an amazing coach, storyteller, and today we're going to talk about how to have confidence and really craft your talk. Adriana, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Nada, for having me here. I'm very excited to join you.
Well, and thanks for being here with the time difference. I believe you're 8 hours difference? Or is it 10?
Not in the middle. It's 9 hours. 9 hours.
Okay, right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Adriana, I always like to start the episode off by letting our guests actually brag about themselves instead of me, reading your bio. So tell us about yourself, who you are, brag a little bit to our audience.
Thank you. Well, I'm a story coach. And in Germany, every time I say I'm a story coach, people are really surprised because there is no such job description in Germany. I don't know in the US, but in Germany, it's really something new. Wow, that sounds interesting. And every time I say, well, I'm a story coach, I'm a storyteller, I feel so comfortable. I never felt that good when I was a financial advisor. In 2007, I turned to be a financial advisor, independent. And now, as I'm a story coach, I really feel all the passion. I feel much more comfortable helping people to communicate with stories in a more emotional way. So I'm a story coach.
Yeah, and I actually really love this topic, and we haven't addressed storytelling probably in a couple hundred episodes, to tell you the truth. And especially in today's world, the art of storytelling for relatability and human connection is really, really important. Not only as a speaker, so anyone that's watching or listening, we're not talking about, being a storyteller as a motivational speaker. That is one way, but even as a leader, as a corporate professional. But I'm curious, before we jump into, what that looks like, how did you get here? Like, what made you wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a story coach and this is my calling?
Yeah, it was by chance. My husband found a fintech company in 2016. And as a startup, of course, there was no marketing, there was nothing, and they needed a lot of content. And we had a little baby at home, and I said, okay, I help you. And at night, I wrote articles and blogs, and for the website, I wrote articles. And I noticed that I really liked this work and that it was really very successful. So one of my articles used to be one of the most read articles of the whole year. And I said, well, that's something. There's something. I can do something that others can't. Most of all in the financial branch. It's very, very tough to write articles there because it's all about data and there's no emotion in it. And I said, okay, what is it? And somebody told me, well, you're telling stories. I said, okay, there must be something. And then I noticed this is my calling. I have to leave the financial advising back behind and start a new business. So I started to be a story coach and do something really, disrupting for the German market.
Yeah, I love it. And I would say disruptive, not only the German market, but as you mentioned, in the US, we have more storytelling, but it's still, I would say, very much limited to individuals that want to become a public speaker, right? And we're just starting to understand that storytelling is really in everything. It's in branding, it's in leadership when you're talking with your team, marketing. It's all about creating relatability and telling stories. So I really want to tap into, I know you have a pretty strong emphasis on women. So I really want to tap into, what does it look like to tell your story? And let's finite it particularly for a woman. And if you're a man listening, it can apply to you too. But what does that look like? Like, how do we begin to tell our story? How do we know if we tell too much? I often hear people say, well, what if my story is not good? So I'm just going to throw it to you, talk with us about some first manifesting steps that we need to do in order to become a great storyteller.
You're totally right. I also thought at the beginning that storytelling is just a marketing tool. Yeah, or maybe for speakers, but for me, it was most of all a marketing tool. But when I really worked with this storytelling, I noticed there's so much more in it. There's so much more that you can do with it and that you can achieve. And it's also about personal branding, about marketing. It's about getting in touch with your clients. But I discovered somehow that when you learn to tell your own story, you become aware of yourself, and that makes you self-confident. And that was impressive to notice that. And that's how I really came to this point, to empower women through teaching them to tell their personal story. And yeah, it's most of all women that I teach this, because women tend not to be that confident and tend not to really step up and tell their story. And they are not prepared. They haven't nailed their elevator pitch because they are not aware enough and not self-confident enough. And that's how I said, okay, how can we change this? Because most of all in Germany, I think also in the US, still women are super underrepresented in the financial branch. There are few advisors, and it really is a big issue to take more women into leadership in the financial branch. And I said, okay, how can we change that? How can I help women to make career in the financial branch, because this is my branch and I know this the best. And then I said, okay, let's help them to tell their personal story. And that's really what I also told in the speak off I did with you, that I said, okay, there are 3 steps. And if you want, I can explain these 3 steps for our audience that can really help them to become aware of who they are, and tell who they are in a very authentic way, because it's not about telling something that's not real. It's about telling what you really feel about yourself.
How do you, and thank you, by the way, for saying that about the speak off. So just so everybody knows, and we're going to be sending out an email here soon, Adriana was our 2023 Global Speak Off winner. So out of everyone that came and joined us and did this speak off competition for Rise Up For You, Adriana was the winner, which, I mean, that's awesome since you're a story coach. But what I want to ask you is, when I first started my company, I relied a lot on storytelling in the beginning. I wrote a book, told my story. When I speak, I tell my story. And I constantly kept hearing, wow, I mean, like, you're so brave, you told your story. I would never do that. Or like, I can't believe, you shared your story. That's not something I would do. How do you deal, or what would you say to men and women that maybe have that thought of, okay, I don't want to story dump. I don't want to tell my story and people think I'm a victim, right? Like, these are the thoughts that people have in their head. I don't want to tell my story and people judge me, or maybe I feel shame about my story, or is it really necessary for me to share my personal life? Those individuals that have those thoughts around it, what would be some, I would say, empowering words that you would tell them so that they can tell a little bit of their story and share their message, not necessarily every detail, but enough to where the message hits?
Yeah, it's actually really a good point, because I was also asked in interviews if storytelling, most of all in this financial stuff, is really sounding professional enough. Yeah, is it professional? Do I seem professional enough when I tell stories? I said, of course, because people are not interested in the fund or in the product. They are interested in the one they are talking with. And you connect through stories. And when we are in our private lives, we tell stories all the time. Yeah, we go and say, well, I went to the restaurant and it was great. They had some stuff for the kids and we had a very good time there, and the pizza was awesome and everything. They don't say, well, we went to a restaurant and they had 25 seats and the pizza costs $8.25, something like that. They don't talk in data. They talk in stories, and they really relate through stories. We are made for stories, and that's why you really should not hesitate to tell a story. It doesn't have to be the big story, you know. I was also asked, well, when I look on LinkedIn, they're like on the Mount Everest, almost dying, and that's the story I have to tell, and I don't have this kind of story. And I said, time out. That's not what I understand under storytelling. Storytelling is not about life and death. It's about my little daily stories and about my achievements and how I struggled and then I achieved something. Because I don't want to represent a victim. I want to be the hero of my story. And I think if you really understand that you're the hero of your story and that you really have a story to tell, and that's what I really do, because I tell women, well, first of all, take your biography and let somebody read it out loud to you, because then they realize all of a sudden, wow, that's true. I also did that, and I did that, and I achieved this and this. And sometimes we just forget that we have so many great stories in our lives, and we just have to discover them and be aware of them. So the first step I do in my coaching with women is that they get their biography read out to them. And it's a nice little story. I came to this because I was hearing radio, and there was a world champion, a woman, and she was a 3-time world champion in kickboxing. And then she went because she got a prize, and then somebody read out loud her biography and talked about her, and she said, wow, that's me. And I said, wow, she's a 3-time world records winner, and it's not enough. So you really have to tell them again, well, how great you are.
Yeah.
So that's really how I discovered that you have to tell them, have to read out loud their biography to them to make them realize, wow, I'm great. I have stories to tell.
Yeah. You said 2 things that are really important that I just want to readdress. Number one is when you're telling the story, it's about being the hero of your story, right? So not mistaking telling your story, ending it on a low and leaving the audience or whoever like in a low frequency energy, but really telling your story in a way that's this is how I survived, or this is how I triumphed, or this is how I overcame it, and you can too. And the second thing that you said that I thought was really critical is that you're right. It doesn't need to be a life or death story. Sometimes people have really incredible stories that, they've been through a lot, they overcame it, and it can be very inspiring for the audience. But I find that people also relate with little stories about being a mom, or little stories about driving in traffic, and you get upset because someone cut you off. People relate sometimes even more to that, because maybe they don't understand death, or maybe they don't understand, climbing a mountain in a typhoon, but they do understand having children during COVID and trying to make it work, and all those things that we maybe don't think are good stories, the average person probably really relates to.
Yeah, it's about resonating. And most people don't resonate with a story that is out of reach, that is somewhere not in their daily life. So for example, today or yesterday in the morning, I posted something because on Sunday I read a newspaper, and there were these announcements when, well, I'm 40 years old, so and so many kilos and this height. I'm searching for a woman to join to my life. And I was really thinking about this. Well, why is he writing so much data? Yeah, he like, how much do I weigh? My weight, my height, my age, all data. And I wrote a little post about this, and I got so many reactions on this post, and it was like telling my story. Well, it's Sunday, I'm reading the newspaper, and I'm thinking about this and that, and talked about Saint-Exupéry with The Little Prince, that he also says, well, we tend to talk so much about data and not about the real things that matter. And that's it. Little stories matter. And so that's what I always try to tell my coaches, that we are searching for the little stories, for the stories you feel authentic with, you feel comfortable telling them, and that at the same time, for the business case, for example, really show your potential and show what you can do and your expertise. So it's combining the two things, emotion, resonance, so you can resonate, and at the same time, well, and this shows my expertise and that I can do this job. So.
Absolutely. I love it. Adriana, thank you so much for joining us. This was a great conversation. I know we can dive into so much more, but I would love to jump into the power section of the interview. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions, and then you just whatever comes to your mind off the top of your head, one of the words. So if today were your last day on earth and you had to leave the world with one golden nugget, what would that golden nugget be?
Be happy. I think it's be happy, because you have to choose to be happy.
Yeah,
there are so many days when you just don't feel like, well, it's the best day of my life, but you can choose to be happy and to see the positive things, and then it will be positive. You can really work on your view, and that's what I do every day. I feel maybe a little bit shaky, or I feel like, okay, today it's tough because I didn't sleep so well, something like that. But I think, no, I choose to be happy. And there's a philosopher in Germany, and he said, well, I chose to be happy because it's good for my health. And that's a philosopher 150 years ago, Schopenhauer. And I really love this quote, because you can choose to be happy. You are not happy because you are always happy. You can choose it.
Absolutely. And as you know, here at Rise Up For You, we're very big on values. Values are foundational to our organization. What's one value that you would say is an absolute non-negotiable?
I'd say authenticity. You have to be authentic. Then you can be a great leader. Then you're a great mom. Then you're a great partner. You're a great friend. If you're authentic, you don't have to show something that you are not, because you can't do that the whole time. You will someday, you will have no energy to do that anymore. So authenticity is the most important thing. And that's also, combining with my storytelling approach, because it's about authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one more question for you, but before I ask you, tell us how the audience can find you, website, LinkedIn, if they want to reach out to you, any gift that you have, please share a little bit more.
Yeah, I have a website. It's storycoaching.eu, because I'm in Germany. I have a LinkedIn profile. I like to post, so join me and follow me. It's in German. I hope you can translate it maybe to English. There are so many easy ways to translate it. And I have a YouTube channel where I post all the stuff I do. When I have a recording, I won an award last year as the best referee or best speaker of the last year of a financial academy. And this talk is, for example, also on YouTube. So you can find me there. And of course, write me an email. Just get in touch with me.
Great. And we'll make sure we put all of that in the show notes. And so final question for you. As you know, we're Rise Up For You. What comes to mind for you when you hear that phrase, rise up for you?
I love this phrase. I really like it. I would copy it if I could. I really like it, because I always say, you have to rise up for you yourself. Because when I read on LinkedIn or on the platforms and social media, many women say, well, because I always write, well, you have to learn to tell your story. You have to be more confident. You have to work on yourself. And then many people react and say, no, why do women always have to work on themselves? First, politics have to change, and circumstances have to change, and everything has to change. so that we don't have to struggle so much. And I say, okay, that would be fine. I also think that many things have to change, but we can't influence them. The only thing you can really have influence on is ourselves. So go on and go the first step on the thing you can really have impact on, and that's yourself. So you have to rise up for yourself and to learn how to tell your story and become confident by doing that, and then all the other things will come, and then things will change because we are one little part of the change, and we don't wait. Because imagine in Germany, if we go on the pace we are doing now to reach equity between men and women and leadership, it will take 80 years.
Yeah.
I will not be on this planet anymore. So if I wait, I don't have a chance. So rise up for you is really what I say. You have to work on yourself, and then you can become successful. And so it's a perfect match. Rise up for you and my approach.
I really love that answer, and I firmly agree with you that it doesn't matter what it is, it's always going to start within, which is why we named it Rise Up For You. Adriana, thank you so much for joining us. It has been such a pleasure to talk with you and to hear your story and to share about storytelling. And thank you everyone so much for listening. Again, this is the Rise Up For You podcast. Every single week, we are bringing you an amazing thought leader, entrepreneur, executive from around the world that is sharing stories, strategies so that you can be your absolute best. Again, my name is Natalina Nasruddin. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thank you, Adriana.
Thank you too. See you.
Imagine a life where you can have it all. A booming career, fantastic love life, great health and success, and overall achievement and happiness. Imagine pushing your potential to your absolute best and every day living a life that you are proud of. Well, if this sounds like something that you're yearning for, then the Rise Up For You Growth membership is perfect for you. My team and I believe in supporting you and helping you get to the next level because we know that you can do and have what it takes to be your best. When you join our membership, you get access to live trainings every single month with myself and our team. You get free coaching. You get a number of on-demand resources to help level up your success that you can use in the comfort of your own home. And you get access to our global membership around the world full of like-minded professionals that are looking to be their best. Your time is now to push your potential and live the life that you want to live. So if you're ready to take the next step in your life and in your career, join the Rise Up For You Growth membership. Click below and we'll see you there.